Hey, apparently we are live. The live button has worked.
Yay.
Um, Let me hit the last couple buttons here to make sure everything's muted that needs to be muted. It looks like it. So, good morning. It is, I believe, December 16th. And all.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Isn't it different because you're in a different time? No. Um, I am Dan Taylor, and that's Steve Conley. And let's begin. Like I said, I've been awake since 5 o'clock this morning. So,
Why'd you get up so early?
It's been a rough week. I was sick most of the week.
The heck?
Jean Louise, my soon-to-be 8-year-old, had her tonsils removed this week. Pre-Christmas, getting ready for that, holidays. It's just that kind of thing. So before we let that drag us down, who the hell are you?
I'm Steve Conley. Welcome everyone to Mazes and Muses. Let's try a little introduction here. Your absolute favorite Saturday morning at 11 a.m. East Coast time.
It's my favorite.
Stream with Dan Taylor and Steve Conley. Top two streams with Dan Taylor and Steve Conley. My name is Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age, which you can read at middleagecomic.com, and I make RPG stuff, including the Emmy-nominated Intoximancy, Death Dealing, and now the currently live on Kickstarter Prayer's Handbook, the Metadomain Cleric, which is going swimmingly. But Dan, who the heck are you?
I am the heck Dan Taylor. I am a content D&D creator of type, so-called professional dungeon master. Though it's been a long time since I've gotten a paycheck doing that. Not too long. I mean, within this year. A couple months ago. Excuse me. And I dungeon master a Catacombs and Comedians live action actual play. Yeah, it's live action as opposed to stop animation. The stop animation wasn't working out for me. It took forever, but
it's claymation live game.
Yeah. That remind me to bring up Ray Harryhausen later. This, just something I want to talk about.
I do every episode.
Yeah, I wish we should just have the Ray Harryhausen stream, where we watch old Sinbad movies. Anyway, I getting off track easy today. I am Dan Taylor. I am the producer and dungeon master of Catacombs and Comedians, as well as the Catacombs and Comedians presents Catacombs and Creators, which we do at various gaming conventions. Well, it's the second one happening at GaryCon, and we'll talk about that later today as well. And I create D&D content as well, but not as pretty as Steve Conley's work. Anyway. So yeah, this is probably our last Mazes and Music coffee chat for the 2023, would you say?
I think so. I think next week I will be on the road, and that week between Christmas and New Year's, I heard someone refer to as the taint holiday. I don't think we'll be here for that, so we'll be back in the new year.
All right. Yeah. So we'll see y'all next year, folks. Remember? No.
So it should be January 6th. I think will be Saturday.
January 6th. Got it. All right. So let's talk about, are we doing a year wrap up, or we're talking about?
No, I think Hasbro took care of the wrapping things up. Hasbro decided to kind of perfect circle this year, I think, in a way. Like, come on, guys. Come on. Can you just get through the end of the year without shooting yourself in the foot? I don't know. A year-end wrap-up might be good, but I prefer looking ahead.
Yeah, I do too. Though something did happen this week. Actually happened yesterday, as a matter of fact. And let me share that with you real quick.
Whoa.
So, thought I would treat myself to a little early birthday present.
Oof. Ow.
And yeah.
Content warning.
I got this done yesterday.
How does it feel today? Itchy?
That's a little stingy at times. Let me remove that. But yeah, it's all wrapped under plastic right now.
Sure. That's great. And you're so when you decide you're going to get this made, how do you decide the orientation? Facing you or facing the public? If you're going to be, I don't know, lifting dumbbells, how do you decide which
Well,
way?
yeah, because I'm always lifting dumbbells.
Right. I know. I mean, you can't. You're always.
Well, I figured everything's got to go down. Just like it goes down that way.
Gotcha.
So actually, while I was there, I got another hash mark for my 11 years of sobriety.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I just walked into the shop, said, "Let's do this."
So you're all in on Dungeons and Dragons, is what you're saying?
I am.
I see the sweatshirt. I see the tattoo. When did they introduce that logo? I know that wasn't like in the AD&D. At some point,
it was when Wizards had it. It was after Wizards, and I think it was shortly after Wizards, because I actually looked up a website that explained the origin of this logo before I put it on my body, and they paid a firm a promotional firm contractor type in the Seattle area to design that logo. So it wasn't designed in-house.
Gotcha. It feels like it's like that Milton Glaser logo for DC Comics, the bullet shape one. It's got the circle and the 45-degree DC logo. It feels classic in a way that I feel like at some point DC Comics is just going to go back to it. They just have to. All the other silly ones they've had in between, the Dove Soap version and all that, whatever they've got going on now, they got to go back to that one. That feels like a classic logo that you don't mess with that. But
right, Hasbro tried messing with it by giving it a sort of 3-dimensional metallic look, but then they just went back to the flat red. And I didn't do red because all my other tats, like I'm the tatted man. I think this is what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tattoo I have. Are all just the bluish black regular tattoo ink, so I just kept it that way. And I don't do well with the red inks. I tried. I know that as a matter of fact. So,
and some people have allergic reactions.
Yeah, red ink because I had a purple, which is similar purple on my little guy over here. I mean, not purple, brown, and it's the same sort of thing. And the reddish inks can affect people. It kind of made me sick for a day or two.
Yeah, I saw some people had it was like a puffy. It was like something like inflated, like it stayed like that kind of those old vinyl stickers that would have like a little raised inflated area. Like, ooh. So do you count the 10-year sobriety and then the 11th tech mark? Is that a separate tattoo?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And actually I had this just the black and I had color. I don't count that as two separate because it was two different, but no, that's
fair
all.
Enough.
Yeah. And yeah, it was just while the guy was doing this tattoo, I'm like, oh, and I need one little hash mark here. Just draw it on. Don't, he's like this? Yeah, easiest tattoo you've ever done.
That's great.
So yeah, I mean, I'm celebrating the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not celebrating the recent layoffs at WOTC, but I think I'm all in for Dungeons and Dragons. And I know I was talking about exploring other avenues, but I think, to be D&D famous has been my motto for a while. I do want to explore other things. In 2024, I do want to explore some Call of Cthulhu.
Really? Where did that come from?
Buddy at work talks about it all the time. And I've starting to get ideas for it, and I've never played it. So, I figured I'll put it on my Christmas list. Someone in my family can give me the book, and then I'll, see how it goes. And I want to do some more, and I'm hanging out, or I'm in communication now with Levi Combs more of Planet X Games, and he does a lot of zines for like DCC Dungeon Crawl Classic and stuff like that. So I'm thinking of, I'm going to maybe play around that little sandbox as well.
Yeah, he has a live campaign right now.
Yeah.
Going on Kickstarter. If folks want to check out Planet X Games and Levi Combs. What's the name of it? It's a little too early in the morning for me to have it off the top of my head.
Assault on something or another.
Yeah. But it is that's going on right now, and it's doing very well.
And just my interaction, because Levi is going to be one of the players at the Catacombs and Creators show at GaryCon. He was the first talent that I invited. And he has been super nice in communication with it. I mean, I think he's one of the sweethearts of the role-playing game community. He really is.
super nice guy. And he's from Washington, D.C. I lived in D.C. for 20 years. I did not know there's like all these people, like Sly Flourish is in the D.C. area, Northern Virginia. Like all these guys, I'm like, all the time when my head was down just working on comics, I didn't know about all the D&D folks. Yeah, it's speaking of Kickstarters, Matt Colville, and speaking of D&D and maybe alternatives to D&D, the MCDM's role-playing game, currently its name is MCDM RPG, is over 3 million.
Is it?
Yeah, with time to go. So people are projecting 4.5-5 million, and that's enormous. That's I do think the timing of that is really interesting, because people say, why December? Why December? And I feel like right now it's that time before the next big game, before we know what 5.5 is going to look like. And with all this kind of, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Hasbro news didn't drive more people to MCDM's game right now. I do feel like, it's hard when the thing that you love and the game that you love is in the hands of people who you have trouble with, you have problems with. It's every time like it's the modern age of just like our it seems like our ability to react politically is so limited that we do what we can with our wallets and with our social media posts and things like that. So somebody buys a company and you're like, oh, I don't like that guy, so I don't like that company anymore. I don't like that product anymore because I don't like, or a person changes or reveals themselves politically and suddenly you can't like the thing that they did anymore. No matter how important that thing might have been to you in your childhood. And it's really interesting that's happening now, and that it's affecting Wizards in such a big way. The whole idea that so many people haven't forgiven them from the OGL scandal. And I do feel like there's a lot of people who already were against Hasbro and WotC and D&D and 5e. They were calling it, garbage before the OGL. And the OGL happened, and finally like, aha, I have proof. I have this concrete thing I can point at and say, this is why I don't like it and why nobody else should like it. It's kind of a classically male way to argue of like, I have this black and white thing that can say we could beat you over the head with it.
I was thinking about that exact thing last night. I'm not happy with Hasbro's decision. I've worked with Hasbro years ago when I worked with Transformers, and Hasbro has, somebody pointed out recently that Hasbro considers Dungeons and Dragons a lifestyle as opposed to a game. And I got news for you. Hasbro considers every single one of their intellectual properties a lifestyle, right? Not a product of its, individual stat, not a doll, not an action figure, not a game, not a Nerf gun. They consider it all lifestyles.
Right.
Transformers, when I worked on that comic book, they considered Transformers a lifestyle. Not just, hey, here's this,
it's not the content, it's not the movie, it's not the old cartoon series. It is somebody who just wants the decal to put on their Jeep. Or you put on a t-shirt, you put it on Dungeons and Dragons on a sweatshirt. We can sell sweatshirts. We can sell anything. We just put the logo on it. We'll sell it.
And does this water down? Does this weaken the IP? Does this weaken the game? Maybe, I don't know. But I know Morris was saying something on his EN World why he doesn't cover, stuff like the D&D lunch boxes. And he goes, we talk about the games, and we're here about the game, and that's fine. That's great. We're not going to talk about the lunch boxes either, but I don't despise the lunch boxes being out there. I like the lunch boxes being out there. I like the action figures I have behind me. I like the sweatshirt that I'm wearing.
Right.
Because guess what? Dungeons and Dragons is more than just a game to me. It is a lifestyle.
Right. At some point, it becomes part of a person's identity, and they're like, "I'm a D&D player. I'm a gamer." And what is a signifier that I can wear that when I look in the mirror, it kind of like, yeah, that's who I am. Not just projecting outwards, right? Not just projecting outwards to other people. They would just like, if I was the only person in the world, I would wear this shirt. It's that sort of thing that a person feel. I absolutely get that. It strikes me sometimes like Bill Watterson and Calvin and Hobbes, how he's like, I just want the comic to be the only Calvin and Hobbes thing. I don't want there to be plushes. I don't want there to be movies or stickers or animations. He could have sold a ton of those things. He could have made even more money than he made with the books. but he was like, no, it's just the thing. And I don't know. It's probably a strong emotional argument there to be made. I don't know if there's a concrete one. Like, make it in. If people buy it, they don't buy it. I feel like bad right now because sort of the realities of this people call late stage capitalism is that Hasbro's like the main way these big corporations do their shtick nowadays is they either buy another company or they let people go. They've rarely been catalysts or prime movers on something great happening. Most often something accidentally is popular on their watch and they don't know how. They were just happened to be in business when the thing happened. It's very rare that they get in a room and say, okay, let's take all the chemicals we have, put them together, and we'll have this alchemical reaction, which will bump our stock price up. The best thing they can do for Wall Street is say, we've bought this other company, or we've fired all these people. We cut costs or bought something else. And it seems to be that Wizards is just victim to that now. They're part of Hasbro. Hasbro's only two moves are buy somebody, fire, or sell pieces of the company off, or fire people.
And that's what they did. They bought this Entertainment One company, and it didn't work out quick enough for them, so they sold most of it back out, right. And then they still laid off a bunch of people. And see, and I don't want, if you're mad at Hasbro and even to a point WotC for that whole OGL debacle, that's fine. That's I mean, so you're right to be mad at anybody you want, not just you, Steve, but the royal you. I will tell you who you can be mad at, Steve.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Like you can't be mad at Kid Rock anymore because he's given up his boycott on Bud Light. So we're okay. We're okay with Kid Rock.
I'll still find a way.
We'll never be okay with Kid Rock.
Isn't that from Jurassic Park? Hate finds a way.
Yeah. I'm just going to say we'll never be okay with Kid Rock. Anyway, I just lost one viewer there, I'm sure. Sorry, kid.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
But where was I going with this? I don't want. See, I think, and then a lot of these people are like, oh, damn you, Hasbro, damn you, WotC, damn Dungeons and Dragons, because my favorite creator lost his job. I mean, it happens, and I don't. And it was nobody at WotC's choice. It was nobody on the D&D team's choice. It's Hasbro, and then unfortunately they're owned by, WotC is owned by Hasbro, and they're going to make these decisions. So there should be no hate on Wizards of the Coast for this debacle.
Right, but it's a thing where it is it's again modern capitalism, like blood diamonds. It's like you have to, if you feel like you can't buy those things because of how they were created and the conditions in which they were created, then you feel like I'm not gonna buy those things. And if people don't want to give Hasbro money right now, I totally understand that. It's like, they're not respecting the brand as much as you are. That's a big thing for me. It's like I can't take care of you more than you take care of you. They have to take care of their people, and if they don't, why should we invest? At some point, it feels like you're being taken advantage of as a consumer, as a fan of a thing. They're like, well, we could do whatever we want. People will still come back. We could keep selling D&D widgets because it's just a logo we slap on stuff. It's not a creative endeavor that has names of the names and the credits don't matter to them.
But they're learning. I mean, they're going to learn, because I don't know if you're familiar with the Ollie's store chain.
No. Where
they sell, they do buyouts and stuff like that. All those campaign cases with creatures and landscape that were $40 or $30 that, Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast put out, they didn't sell. So they were on sale for $3 a pop at these Ollie's stores.
Oh, so it's like, I guess it was the Big Lots used to be that kind of a remainder store.
All these action figures behind me that I paid top dollar for when they first came out are $9.99 a piece now at Ollie's.
Yeah, I think I saw those in the clearance aisle at Walmart for like $3. they got the main, the first run, the early adopters paid for the print run, and they had some left over. So all right, just empty shelves so we can fit the next thing we make, the next D&D thing we make. But I do think like people seem to be happy with what they got. You're happy with the products behind you, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, in terms of creativity and making things, I don't know if it's affected stuff if I'm making 5 things for 5e, and if you're going to still make things for 5e and 5.5, will that dry up the audience? Will people be like, no, I'm not playing Dungeons and Dragons right now. I'm pissed off at them. I've got my dungeon masters like, I don't want to play 5e. I don't want to play 5.5. He wants to go to Tales of the Valiant, which for all intents and purposes is 5e. I apart from some, much needed bolt tightening, which is, at a certain point, there's a bloat in a product line, right? D&D 5e is 10 years old. We have our starter books. They're fine. Yeah, they got some problems in them. And then they release Tasha's, and they release all these other expansions over time, which increase power, which make the original subclasses less viable because they're not as cool and shiny and as powerful. So you want to get all the new books to play with those. You want to pick up your dragon book and your at some point that's so big that it becomes impossible for a new person to start playing the game. I think there's like, how do you play the game when you go to D&D Beyond and every time you click what a spell does, you're asked to pay another $35 for a download? Like everything seems paywalled and inaccessible. If you boil it all down to 2 new books or 3 new books, suddenly everybody can play again. And that will absolutely repeat. But I just don't, if they lose goodwill, I don't know what happens. Like if Critical Role Season 4 is playing Dungeons and Dragons, I think Dungeons and Dragons will be fine. If they're playing Daggerheart or MCDM RPG, I don't know. We're officially consigned to grognardhood at that point. I think.
No. I mean, again, a lot of it ties to my show, Catacombs and Comedians. I can't say, hey, we're going to play the MCDM game. Because people are going to, what is that? We have no idea. Oh, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, I saw that on Big Bang Theory. I know what that is.
Right. And then Dungeons and Dragons has got, 50 years of name recognition. And it's the, to some people, Dungeons and Dragons is role-playing games. The same way, why can't Batman fight Superman? Why can't Batman fight Spider-Man? They're both superheroes? Why can't they fight? We're like, you and I are like, look, they're 2 different universes. Hello, it's like,
please,
that just can't be done. But to most people, it's like they don't know. They just think, oh, Blue Beetle, maybe he'll be an Avenger. I don't know if people know or care. And also, I also want to say that there were some transformative things that Critical Role did to make Dungeons and Dragons better. And I think that people want to play that version of D&D specifically. So I'm not sure if Daggerheart will allow them to do that. They've been playing these other games. Their Candela Obscura I don't find as appealing. So I don't know if they'll be able to translate that to other systems and other... but I gotta think they can. If we care about the characters more than the game, there's nothing intrinsic about the rules that make... Oh, man. I got back into Dungeons and Dragons, and so I started watching Critical Role because I wanted to see other people play the game well. If they stopped playing Dungeons and Dragons, if they weren't playing Dungeons and Dragons, would I have watched them at all? I don't know.
I would not have.
Right.
And also, I watched Critical Role, but they didn't play the kind of Dungeons and Dragons that I play. So I really didn't watch much of them.
I found I had missed all of the early Acquisitions Incorporated. I went back to watch them, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching because they were playing 4th edition. And I had no idea what's happening. Who? I don't even know whose turn it is anymore because things are so weird. And so as charming as the participants are, it didn't speak my language. It's like all the people who came up at Gamehole Con and said, oh, this looks like fun, but I don't play 5e. It's like, oh, this looks like fun, but that's not my brain's operating system. So I I'm not compatible with what you're selling. And I think if Critical Role changes to a system that I'm not compatible with, I don't know what that friction will be like. But it's really interesting. The fans of Critical Role will support them no matter what, even if they don't play the game. I don't know how many people of the thousands, tens of thousands of people who are supporting MCDM's RPG, how many of them are going to play the game? How many of them are? At what point do we know? Sure, you can sell a box or a book and you put it on a shelf and then it sits there. You have mentioned many. Where does that engine click at the point where it's like, okay, this is now self-sustaining in a real Kickstarter kind of way or in a nuclear reaction kind of way? At what point do we reach critical mass and this will be self-generating like a Traveler and people can play it forever, like a Dungeon Crawl Classics? It is the best case scenario for MCDM to become another Dungeon Crawl Classics, to be a Shadow Dark. I don't know. And is that viable? Is it like, Mutant Ninja Turtles never had to be DC Comics. They just had to do their thing and be successful at that level, really successful at that level for until they're bought by somebody. I don't know. I don't know what that world is like. And for people like me who are building supplemental content for other systems, but building cartridges for Atari, when Atari goes away, what do I do? I have to make ColecoVision. I have to make Intellivision
But let's say Atari goes away. You can't be mad at Atari because they're not there anymore, are you?
No. But if it goes away because people are mad at it, I don't think it's going to go away on its own. But I think if the customers aren't there because they're, again, the vast majority of D&D players have no idea the OGL thing ever happened. I bet 90%. I was really surprised when I went to a comic convention during the OGL. It must have been like March of last year, and someone saw I was doing D&D stuff, and to a person, they talked about the OGL thing. But that's a subset of people who go to comic conventions, right? That Venn diagram is one circle. Yeah. You're deep in the lore if you're going to these events. But I would think most kids sitting around a table playing with their group, they don't know about the OGL scandal. They don't even know about supplements. But the people who are on Kickstarter buying 5e books know about OGL. That is almost a certainty. And so that's weird how it fits into our world. So doing things like Dungeon Crawl Classics probably makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. I probably am not going to buy or get the MCDM game via Kickstarter. Because I support a lot of Kickstarters.
Right.
And just to be supportive. And that's getting expensive. Like I said, we've talked about all these books that I have that I haven't even cracked the spine on.
Sure.
And I don't know if it's going to be the game like we've already discussed last week. I'm not sure it's the game for me. I mean, from what I've heard and stuff, it sounds okay. We'll see. I mean, it sounds fun. It kind of sounds more like a superhero role-playing game to me, which is, I'm not knocking it. It's, a lot of, I don't know. It sounds like very tactical. And am I going to need miniatures to play this game? I'm more of a theater of the mind guy. So I'm just going to, and plus it's good after supporting, it's still going to be another year and a half till it comes out.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's expensive to get both books.
It is.
So I don't know how it's going to be. So I think I've just decided I'm going to wait until it comes out and it's mass produced and I'll buy it off Amazon at a discount. I mean,
yeah, that's a lot of people do that with D&D. So they're like, I do suspect that Wizards of the Coast will, if they have a brain in their head, they will do through their Hasbro Kickstarter, internal Hasbro system, whatever, I forget what they call it, their own Hasbro makes or whatever.
Hasbro Pulse.
That they'll probably do a special edition of the books. If they're smart, they'll do what Kickstarter does and make an extra few $1 million. But it's really interesting. Someone pointed this out with the Kickstarters that are happening now, that MCDM in particular, that it is almost no bling. There's almost no swag that goes with it. It's mostly the books. Once you get to the top tier, then you've got a miniature and you've got all this stuff, which is really smart. Not like me, who's dumb, who makes everything a la carte. I do think there's something to be said for making. Oh wow, we're doing great. We're doing great. I didn't even check it this morning, or the phone lights up when someone pledges. I've been getting a lot of digital pledges lately, which is nice. They're like I could see because it's $5, $10, or $15 for the PDFs, which I love. Yeah, doing great. 247. I would. My hope is to have a campaign where we have 1,000 backers. I'm hoping that the one I do for Zine Quests can do that, but we'll see. Again, the mood of the community is so stressed right now, but I'm hoping. But the reaction that people have had to this has been really great. Death dealing people I think people thought, okay, that makes sense. Makes sense mechanically, but the people who are into this are leaving lovely comments, and I haven't even done the bulk of my cross promotion with other Kickstarters that are happening right now, and that's what I'll be doing next. Like promoting this weekend, I have an update going out since we just unlocked the $8,000 stretch goal. Everybody gets a cool sticker. Every physical backer gets a cool sticker, and I'll be cross promoting with them. So I'll be telling about 2 other campaigns which I think are really cool right now. And so stuff like that, I'll talk to them about their stuff, and they'll talk about mine, and hopefully bring more people in.
And what's the magic number that you wanted to get as far as backers on this one?
Always 451. I would love to get one more than Intoximancy. Intoximancy was such a hit that I want to go back and do more.
But I think you're not doing too shabby there, kid.
No, we're doing great. And we are, 19 days to go, just under 3 weeks to go. And, we're closing in on the amount of money that Intoximancy made. And people are buying the old Intoximancy book. People are buying Intoximancy and Death Dealing with this. I'm trying to go back to, I may go back to the press on the Death Dealing. And I might go back to press on Intoximancy yet again. I have to figure out how I can do that. I'm loath to do another Kickstarter. I'm loath to do a Kickstarter that features content I've already made, because I just know all the previous people are like, I don't want this again. I just bought it. But it means broadening the audience. I don't know if I can do that. I did make available on my Kickstarter. So I sent them all my Patreon support. I'm sorry, all my Kickstarter supporters, a PDF that lets people print a box and assemble it.
Yeah.
So, this was suggested by a Kickstarter supporter, and it's a great solution. It's like it solved it. People have already sent me photos of their assembled boxes, and
mine are still shrink wrapped.
Oh, and pristine. Yeah.
Yep. Because I'm gonna sell them on eBay later.
Nice. Only 300 decks were made, and there's not many left. But looking ahead to the new year, you have a lot going on.
Yeah. And most of it is, well, it's all, you're right. I'm all over the place. So I don't know if there is a most of. I've spent a lot of this week prepping my 0 level media Patreon together. I'm going to do similar to your, Steve does, he does on Twitch. He does his, his art drawing or sculpting or stuff like that. I will probably do something similar to that called Welcome to Warrenhold, where I'll work on that big city map, fleshing out that city map that I've had. One day we might, design a bakery and plop it somewhere in the city. Another day we might be working on, the rank and file of the city guards, or, do some legends, do some urban myths of the city, do some, roll up very characters that live in the sewers, and I don't, no set. This is how, I've got a lot of points of interest already to work on. And it's something I can just turn on my camera and sit here at my computer, much like you do. And in a way, with your schedule, I think it keeps you honest as far as getting work done.
Yeah, a bit. I'd say it's work I'd be doing anyway. So in some ways, it's kind of like it's like bringing a little extra I don't know, a little extra out of the work. The trouble is it slows me down. I'm not sure how you feel. I've watched a lot of people who stream and do creative work on stream, like writing and things like that. They're often they're interacting with their audiences in some way. Like, what should I put in this corner? And people are typing a response. You spend more time chatting. I maybe a third of the time is spent chatting. Where I can multitask when I'm drawing. I don't know how people do it when they're doing the fluff. Like,
see, it won't be I'll be doing the framework more. The notes part of, and then I could take that from the stream and then take those notes and then turn that into a published, fine tune. I can't do, like you said, I can't do my fine tune writing. I was going to say fine writing, but my writing's not fine. My writing's marginal. Okay.
You're fine writing.
And, but no, I've just figured it'd be a fun way. And I could, say, okay, I need to name the Thieves Guild in this section of the city. Help me out, viewer. And, you will say, oh, it's this. Oh, thanks, Steve. But yeah, I've been working on getting that together. And also on my Patreon, I just posted this morning, because I'm going to get my Patreon up and running, which will have a lot of the Warrenhold stuff, a lot of other things that I'm working on, these various zines and stuff. But I posted my lovely, lovely child, who just had her tonsils out this week, begged me to make her character. Now, a couple months ago, we went on Hero Forge and we designed her character. So now I actually had her get up on my lap and we did D&D Beyond, and she designed her character, Lizzie Mishroom, a wood elf ranger whose favorite enemy is the undead. So she's protecting the forest from zombies.
Awesome.
Now, remember, for her figure she designed, she has a baby purple dragon and a green fanny pack right out of the 80s. So I recorded it while we did that, just with the webcam, because we worked on this computer, and I just, boom. So on my Patreon right now this morning is the 23-minute video of her and I making
That's awesome.
And it's not, you don't have to be a supporter to watch. It's free for anybody, but that's what I'm going to put that sort of stuff on there. And hopefully, eventually in 2024, we'll start playing a game and, maybe feature it on there.
That's great. A
little one-on-one game. But yeah, and then I've got Catacombs and Comedians. I've got my, the crew lined up for the Helium Comedy Club in Indianapolis. That shows, it's set, it's in stone. We're getting that together. That'll be July 31st, right the night before Gen Con kicks off. And then Catacombs and Comedians, the Pod Venture Cast. I've been talking to the various comedians. We're putting our characters together. Someone's got a great idea where their character is a warlock and their patron is a genie. And I've got a great idea for that genie. There's going to be a monk halfling involved. So that's coming together fine and great. And then there's Catacombs and Creator Show at GaryCon. And I think I can share this. But so this is the official announcement. I got the previously announced or discussed Luke Combs of Planet X Games. He's being one of the participants. Matt Forbick, who was on the Catacombs Comedian or Creator Show at Gamehole Con, he's coming back to play. Matt Forbick has worked on every role-playing game in the world, most notably the recent Marvel Universe game or Multiverse game. Tommy Gofton, who seems to have his fingers in everything game related nowadays, and he has some big things coming up. I don't know if you saw that with D&D.
Yeah,
coming up, and we'll explain that next. We'll have Tommy come on. I can get Tommy to come on in our Mazes and Muses and talk to us. But so I've got my fourth player. Drum roll, please. Playing at Catacombs and Creators, or Catacombs and Comedians presents Catacombs and Creators at GaryCon 14 or 16 or something like that. Anyway, the GaryCon next month in March. Oh, it's 16. The one and only at Greenwood.
That's
So
fantastic.
talk about okay, I was nervous enough having Chris Perkins be, watching me dungeon master a game from the front row of my last show. Now I've got Elminster himself playing in my game. Not that character, but Ed Greenwood, the man, the legend, the myth who created the Forgotten Realms, will be a player. I mean,
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. So, yeah, this is the first time I announced it to anybody.
That's awesome. It's great news.
And he's been so kind and so nice. Not that, Tommy and Matt and Levi aren't. We already talked about how gracious Levi is. So yeah, it should be a really fun game at GaryCon, and I'll be plugging the hell out of that and giving more information on what's to come with that. So, and then again, the Nashville, the stand-up live show will kick up hopefully again in April with a new room that I'm just saying they're building just for Catacombs and Comedians, residency and all that. No,
sure. It's the official Catacombs Comedians Catacombs. That's great. That's absolutely great.
And I will be getting out there and trying to get into more comedy clubs in 2024 because again, I'm going to ride in the fact that it is the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. It would be stupid for me not to say, hey, help celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons with a live comedy actual play show called Catacombs and Comedians.
That's great.
So that's me in a nutshell.
And you have in terms of the you're leaning forward. Were you about to I thought you were going to do some voice work.
No.
What about the products you got cooking? What about the crowdfunding you have in the works?
We'll see. I don't, I said everything's this. When the new year, January 6th, I'll probably have a better idea on what we're coming,
Okay.
What's
that's cool.
Because I gotta line up, I gotta put priority on some of these things, and rather than just come up with new ideas and say, hey, I'm gonna do this or this. I do want to get my zine quest or my quest zine out. I don't know if it'll be a zine quest, but a quest zine, because work's plugging away on that, as well as my post-apocalyptic
and 4020,
and not to mention 4020. 4020 is a definite. That is definitely happening. Again, I got to count again. January, February, March, April 20th.
Right.
But you know what? I might not crowdfund it. April 20th, I just might throw it out there and say, here it is. Like it or don't like it. Buy it or don't buy it.
You set up, well, isn't that the same as saying we set a goal of $10?
Yeah.
We set our goal. Set a low goal. Set a goal of $500. Their Kickstarter's going right now. They have a goal of $600. Set a goal of $420.
That's probably what I'll do. I'll set a $420 goal,
and you'll hit that goal. And that way, hey, my crowdfunding was successful. And then if you want to buy it on BackerKit, because you've already given BackerKit some cash to do the promotion part, right?
I haven't given them the cash yet.
Okay. Oh, they take it out of the back end?
I don't know if I've signed up for that extra.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to do that whole
no
thing we heard about at Gamehole Con about using their promotional tools and stuff.
I mean, I probably will. I just haven't hit that button yet.
Gotcha. But that's great. That's great. I do think, pre-orders are fine, but I do think setting a goal that you can hit and meet and then deliver is such a big deal. Like, I feel like I'm going to keep doing okay as long as I keep delivering the last thing and keep building the stock up. But it's interesting that the number of backers, and Toximancy was kind of again, lightning in that was my snakes on a plane. It is such a simple, easy idea to sell. I think if that was the third thing I had done, it would have done even better because I would have had the back stock. But we'll see. The next thing I'm going to do we'll talk about that on the 6th, the plans for, because by the time we meet on the 6th, the Prayers Handbook campaign will be done. Mm-hmm. We'll have a report on that, and all eyes will be on Zine Quest for me.
And I will hopefully be able to announce when the first episode of Podventure Cast will drop. And there will be content on the Zero Level Media Patreon.
That's wonderful.
Other than just me trying to explain the Sylvian language to my daughter.
And up in the new year, we have to have a tour of the Den catacombs, the lair of
the crypt
yeah,
my creative crypt. Yeah, I'll have to get that. I'll figure it out, because generally what will happen is I'll get a bunch of books for Christmas, and then that'll make me rearrange all my bookshelves and get that organized. But yeah, it's just it's dizzying in here right now.
Well, congrats on the new tattoo. That's awesome. It's ballsy. I don't have one. I'm a coward. And I'm frail, so I can't do it. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, getting them done on your wrists hurt.
Yeah.
I can't get the. Anyway, they're there. But no, it's something I always want to get done, and regardless of the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow, or what Hasbro does, or the OGL, or what all that, D&D has been a very important part of my life.
Yeah.
Regardless, and it's worthy of a tattoo more than an ex lover.
I think that D&D is not going anywhere. I think people will be playing 5th edition for many years to come. I think 5.5, if it does tighten the bolts, that's great. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think the Dungeon Dudes are going to keep playing Dungeons and Dragons. I think Matt Colville's community was built on him making D&D and role-playing games more accessible to his audience. I think he'll still be playing D&D. I think he'll be playing his game as well. It'd be interesting. I mean, it's some of these shows that we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. We're not going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. They announced we're not going to talk about D&D anymore. We're going to talk about all the other games, and slowly D&D's crawling back in.
Yeah. I will forever be D&D. Just part of me. I want to dabble in all these other sandboxes, but I'm a D&D guy.
And for all the talk about, and some of these podcasts and YouTube channels that are so anti Dungeons and Dragons, they're still making 5e content. Yeah. The thing is, it's really interesting that on the one hand, they're bringing in an audience of people who love D&D and are really invested in it and want to, and a little upset with how, I don't know, like most people are, like they're upset with their local team for how their local team is management's going right now.
I was gonna use that as an example. Yes, sports.
So they still love it. They're still gonna wear their stuff. They're still gonna keep their season tickets, but they're gonna be bitching the whole time. It's like the New York City mayor is always an unpopular position because everyone in New York's got an opinion.
I mean, my Tennessee Titans were,
and the fact that people have a background radiation of umbrage all the time doesn't negate how bad Hasbro's been this year. The things they have done have been bad to the point where they themselves have accepted how bad they are and have reversed course. I mean, that's one of the things that's, no matter how you feel about no matter how someone feels about Hasbro, the fact that they reverse course is an acceptance that we were right. Right. I think that's, when someone apologizes, you go, okay, I was right.
Yeah. But do we need to go, told you I was right? We don't,
I think we can. I think we can gloat. Again, it was one of the things where I think, again, we're so disenfranchised. We have such little power as consumers in this world right now that any win we get is worth a little bit of crowing. Because for the most part, we don't get any wins. It's just like, oh, someone's mangling the thing we love from our childhood. Okay. All right. I mean, people who don't care about the thing seem to be ruining it for a cheap buck because they think it's a lifestyle brand, or because they think it's they can just slap another logo on it. But I don't know. I'm just gonna keep playing 5e until my dungeon master tells me otherwise. If he says, okay, we're gonna switch to Pathfinder, all right, we'll try it.
I'm a D&D homer. And I will probably remain that. And
Have you ever thought about playing like an older version of D&D at the games? Like, or is it just so easy with 5e for people to create a level 5 character?
There's just so much out there for 5e. So,
Right.
I don't, again, for my shows, I don't need, okay, people, we're going to play first edition Dungeons and Dragons. So, because half the people who come to my shows at comedy clubs don't even play Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Half of those people the majority of those people who have played have only played 5th edition.
Right.
So I don't need to explain Thaco to them, other than the fact that Thaco is the name of the chaotic evil deity in my universe.
Is the idea that you just were going to roll the dice, people roll the dice, and okay, you hit, you didn't hit. They don't have to know the system. They don't have to know the math.
My players or the audience?
Nobody. Nobody needs to know the math, because in the end, it's just, whether you're playing first edition, second edition, or 5th edition, you're just going to say, here's your character sheet, roll a d20, I'll tell you if you hit or not. Right? I mean, the game we played in the Gamehole Con, you're sure I was using actions and bonus actions and thinking about my movement and all that stuff, but it didn't really come into it because we were doing theater of the mind, and it was kind of more of a fun improv.
Yeah. No, I mean, the dice the dice are in there because, I mean, that's a fun element. I mean, it's a Dungeons and Dragons element that needs to be there. And all the funny dice need to be there. I just can't say, your 20 hit, you killed them. I got to go. No, you got to figure out which one's the 8-sided dice and roll that. Because, I mean, as annoying as it is, half the time on stage, it's also hilarious to try to watch a comic try to add 8 + 2 + 4.
And they're high and they've had a couple of drinks. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's why I have those set of foam dice for somebody in the audience to be the dice coach and say, roll this one. Roll this one.
That's awesome.
And it makes it, audience participation even more fun.
So tell me about Thaco. That's a spell in the upcoming Player's Handbook, but what did you use it for?
It's the name of the god of war.
In what system?
In my Dungeons and Dragons. I have the same set of deities that I use for all my D&D games.
Gotcha.
Regardless if it's Catacombs of Comedians or a serious D&D game.
So it's
just use Thaco as my evil.
That's
my evil guy.
That's excellent. This in the spell in Prayer's Handbook is temporarily. It stands for something else. Temporarily has absolute combat opportunity or something like that. It's an acronym for you target the person, they make a saving throw, charisma, and if they fail, they have an armor class of 0 until the next time they're hit. So you basically hit them and they have an armor class of 0. And then when someone hits them, their armor class jumps back up to whatever it was, but temporarily has armor class 0, essentially, is what the...
Did I tell you what the term for hit points are going to be in 4D20?
No.
Total health count, otherwise known as THC.
Excellent. Excellent. I love it. Absolutely great.
So, all right. I think that's going to, unless you have anything else.
Ray Harryhausen.
Oh, I was in my fever dream that I've been having all week. I'm like, CGI looks great and everything, but I love that old Ray Harryhausen type of stuff, right? Those skeletons from Sinbad or the Cyclops or, Clash of the Titans, the Medusa.
Sure.
There should be a button for filmmakers when they use CGI, the Harryhausen button, to just give it that sort of slightly choppy look. Because that'd be so much better than what we have now. Okay, that's just me.
No, I like it. They tried a little bit when Aardman did that Flushed Away movie. They did it all CGI, but they wanted to look like Aardman's claymation of Wallace and Gromit. And so they lowered the frame rate a little bit. They did their best with CGI to emulate hand-done stuff. They included, like on the sculpt, like bump maps that would indicate fingerprints and stuff like that, because you always see those fingerprints in Wallace and Gromit's faces, and the characters always have that because they're being manipulated all the time, and that texture is part of it, and so they try to fake that texture. And I think
how cool did Phil Tippett's Tauntaun look in Empire Strikes Back, and then you see the latest Star Wars offerings, and it's just it doesn't look as neat as that Tauntaun look back in the day.
It's fun. I do like that some of Mandalorian and things like that, how they're going out of their way to use some puppetry.
Yeah, again, Phil Tippett has come back. Like, he did that weird robot thing that was living on Mandalore and the ground.
Did he really?
Yeah, Phil Tippett did that.
Wow, that's excellent, because that was one of the ones I thought that's a fun combination of, you could just tell there's a little bit of a person who just is like off the camera with a stick. And it's I don't know, it feels real in some way. Hey.
Practical effects are fun.
Oh, TK, thank you, the new backer over on the Kickstarter. TK, thank you so much. Just one more little snippet before we go.
Beautiful.
The latest, this is a half-size print. There are still some weaknesses, but this is better. That's my fault. I clipped the chimney off. I thought it was a sprue. That's what I get for being so weird. But half size, so I have to let this thing churn for a day and a half to make the full size one. So,
well, you got 3 weeks.
I might, before I go away on the holidays, I'm going to set like something large to print, and it might fail, but it might fail. And today I work on a prayer's handbook. I want to get the bulk of the book laid out. Content goes here, illustration goes here, that kind of layout thing with holes to fill. And I printed out my notes so far, and it was 33 pages of notes. So I shrunk it down so I fit on 25 pages, but I've got a lot of. It's gonna be a good book. I hope.
Oh, of course it will be. And then, but the Zine Quest thing you're doing is not going to be related to this series, right?
Oh no, it's related. It's just it's just not a subclass.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still 5e. It's a subclass. It ties absolutely into the story, and it's been referenced in other death dealing references it, and Prayer's Handbook will reference it too a little bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Maybe January 6th we'll have a guest.
That'd be fun. Or if you want to come back January 6th with a year ahead, we'll certainly have stuff to talk about with the post. Well, whatever you get. If you get a guest, that'd be great. But I also think of talking about the year ahead. If they want to talk about the year ahead too, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, I'll poke around, see who I can get, and anyway, thanks again, Steve. Happy holidays to you.
You too.
May you have you get everything you wish for, and I don't know, cat doesn't knock down a tree or anything.
Well, good luck with everything. I'm excited to see what 2024 brings.
I will reveal the healed tattoo come
That'd be great.
later. So anyway, thanks for joining us, folks. Again, check out prayershandbook.com. Take you to Steve's Kickstarter and jump in on that. And until next year.
What's the URL for 4D20 if they want to sign up?
4d20system.com.
Excellent.
And until next year, may you all make your saving throws.
Vamp.
Come on, in the stream. I don't know if we're still on or not. But anyway.
It says we're live, Dan. We're live. Oh my gosh, to see behind the scenes how the sausage is made. We'll be streaming through the new year here, so let's just
oops. Didn't mean to do that.
We can't end the stream till you see Ed Greenwood's face one more time.
Let me try in stream again.